So first I want to introduce David Goard, who is South West Rep on the NEC of the RMT.
Thanks very much for the invite. Now more than ever, we need all trade unions who are active and ready to commit to what we're going into at the moment. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for the invite and your continued support, not just to this trade union, but to the movement in general. I'm not sure what information you were given with regards to P&O. I know that was that sort of raised its ugly head back in middle of March, and unfortunately 800 of our members lost their jobs. Exactly how we're communicating now, they were told to go onto a Zoom link and were told that their jobs would no longer be available, and effectively they needed to get off the ships, and that they were going to be sending in some heavies with CS gas and handcuffs if people weren't going to leave quietly. So fast forward a couple of weeks from when that announcement was made, there was rightly outrage from the masses. We had trades councils from all over attending rallies and demonstrations down in Dover, and we managed to get the government to make an inquiry into the illegal conduct of Peter Hemingworth, who was the CEO who effectively made these 800 people illegally redundant or sacking them. So we managed to get some international support from the ITF, that's the Transport Federation, International Transport Federation, and they have rightly raised massive concerns over how somebody could no longer consult with trade unions and effectively go and do what they wanted to do. So the government got them into a sort of Q&A and summoned them to explain their actions. And what was frightening is that Peter Hemingway turned around and said that one of the questions posed to him is, if you were given the opportunity to do something different, i.e. follow legislation and law and consult with trade unions correctly, would you go back and do it differently? And the bloke brazenly turned around and said, no, I'll do exactly the same. Now, the reason why they did that was because they factored in how much it would be for the legal costs of going to any type of tribunal. So the non-disclosure that they got these guys to sign in terms of getting their redundancy packages was all factored into this overall cost. And what they did is they immediately sought employment from people from around the world, namely the Philippines, and they brought them in on £5.15 an hour, which is way below our minimum wage. These guys were being exploited. They spoke very little English or no English. They held no safety qualifications, and quite rightly, the government had to listen to our concerns with regards to sending. I certainly wouldn't want my family going onto a ship that didn't have correct trained staff on there. They had no fire safety. They had no lifeboat experience or qualifications on how to deal with these situations. And at the end of the day, P&O weren't concerned about safety. All they were worried about was cutting the costs of their overall headcount. So it was very alarming that this company was allowed to do that at the time. So progressing from that, we've now set up a new initiative called Safe Farers or Safe Seafarers, and what we want is a commitment from the government that national minimum wage is going to be offered to anybody that's employed to work from any of the English ports, and more importantly, that these guys are trained to a standard that is required to ensure anybody who's on those boats are safe. And this campaign is starting to gain legs now. It's getting government support, and believe it or not, and it's really important that we ensure that no other company, let alone a seafaring company, but any company, are allowed to go and illegally dismiss 800 staff. So that's where we are with the P&O. Going on to the National Rail dispute, this will be the biggest dispute that we face in the last 30 years. The government have made it pretty clear that we are everything's up for grabs. Our pay has not changed for the last 3 years. Our terms and conditions are up for grabs. Everything's on the table, so to quote, and there is no assurances of any compulsory redundancies. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen Grant Shapps' latest, I don't know how to describe it, latest statement that they can bring in agency work to safely and competently work or get a train moving around the country. Now, you look at the types of people that go into the jobs that we've got, they have between 10 and 16 weeks worth of intensive training to ensure that they are competent enough and safe enough to be able to dispatch a train and make sure that if anything happens, that they were in a position to deal with it in a safe manner. In order to combat these anti-trade union laws, they are looking to push through a bill that enables the government to effectively bring in a scab labour of agency workers to effectively nullify the strike action that we're going to be taking. And we cannot allow that to happen. If we allow that to happen on the railway, then you can guarantee that every other union, the NEU, and obviously the teachers' unions, everybody, if they allow this to be pushed through, and we have a situation where we have, again, ill-trained, ill-qualified people carrying out critical positions, and sometimes safety critical positions, it's only going to end one way, and that is that there's going to be massive safety concerns, if not fatalities, as a result of this government looking to shortcut, not bother paying the staff who have worked throughout the pandemic, labelled as heroes 1 minute, and then thrown on the scrap heap the other. And like I said, 3 years is a long time to not receive any type of substantial pay increase. Cost of living's through the roof. People are paying, taxes are up, national insurance, fuel, food, gas and electric is absolutely extortionate at the moment, and will only go up again in October. And the RMT have set a precedent now, and we've got a national demonstration on the 18th of June in London, where we're looking to mobilise the movement of every trade union around this country to kick back at this government and say enough's enough. People, even the people who are most comfortable, or who used to be as comfortable as they could be, are starting to feel the pinch now. And it's the communities that are getting ripped to pieces. And people are we hear about it all the time, that, heating or eating. The stark reality is some of these deprived areas where people aren't being given a substantial pay increase to coincide with the cost of living inflation are ending up having to choose between paying their bills and feeding their families. And I call on groups exactly like this to get out and support all of the trade unions. We had the Plymouth Trades Council down in Plymouth last week, and on Tuesday and Thursday they were leafleting for us, explaining the current issues that these sectors are currently facing, and we need to make sure that we fully support you guys and hope it's sort of reciprocated when it comes to what you guys can do potentially for us, and vice versa, what we can do for you guys. So the train dispute is not around solely about pay. They've come out and said this, they're paid substantial amount of money, and they keep quoting train drivers. Train drivers are not included in this. Well, the majority of them aren't train drivers. They're ticket office staff, they're catering, they're catering people, they're people who dispatch trains and work on the gate line, cleaners. They're people that aren't on substantial, it's quite modest, they're on modest pay, a lot of people. And one thing we need to reiterate to the public and make sure we get them on side is that, you know, they're not on 48, 50,000 pounds like the drivers are. That's not what the dispute is about. The dispute is about people being labelled heroes, working throughout the pandemic, ensuring that key workers were getting to where they needed to, and then, you know, as far as the government are aware, COVID is gone. There's no issues at all, and it's business as usual. And top of their agenda is trying to recoup some of the money that they've absolutely, probably illegally, threw at all their business cronies to prop up their businesses with the PPE and things like that. So in the NHS track and trace. So we need to mobilise now. There's lots of action being taken across the country in order to get people geared up for the 18th of June, where there's going to be a national demonstration at Parliament in London, and lots of local trade unionists and activists are now looking to play their part in terms of getting some assurances from the government that jobs aren't going to be stripped away, agency staff aren't going to be drafted in, and people are correctly paid for the work that they deliver. So, but hopefully that's give you a flavour of where we are and what we're looking to do.